Hello, and welcome back to Speak English Daily.
Hi everyone, we are very happy to see you here today.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to Speak English Daily. Before we begin, don't forget to like this episode, subscribe to the channel, and join us every week for more real English conversations. Now, let me ask you something. Has someone ever pointed out something you didn't notice?
Oh, many times. More times than I'd like to admit.
Really? I thought you were the kind of person who noticed everything.
I wish. My friends would probably laugh if they heard that.
Well, here's a simple example. Imagine you're walking with a friend and your backpack is open. You don't know it, but your notebook is about to fall out. Your friend says, "Hey, your backpack is open." They just pointed out something important.
That's a perfect example because they aren't criticizing you, they're helping you.
Right. Here's another one. You're reading an email before sending it. You think everything looks good, but your coworker points out a spelling mistake. Suddenly you see it and think, how did I miss that?
That happens to me all the time. Sometimes I read the same sentence 5 times and still don't notice a mistake until someone else points it out.
Isn't that funny? Our eyes can look at something without really seeing it.
I know that feeling very well.
So today we're talking about the phrasal verb point out. Native speakers use it every single day, but many English learners don't use it very often.
And the nice thing is that it's easy once you hear it in real conversations.
We aren't going to memorize rules today.
No long grammar lesson.
We're simply going to chat, tell stories, laugh a little, and use this phrase naturally again and again.
Speaking of stories, I have one that still makes me laugh.
I knew you would.
A few weeks ago, I drove to a shopping center. After shopping, I walked around the parking lot looking for my car. I kept pressing my car key, but nothing happened. I started thinking, did someone steal it?
Oh no, I can already tell where this is going.
My friend looked at me for a few seconds and then started laughing. He pointed out that I was standing in the wrong parking row. My car was only a short walk away.
That's both funny and a little embarrassing.
It was. I laughed too because I had walked right past my own car without noticing it.
That's such a great example. One small comment changed everything.
It reminds us that point out isn't only about mistakes. Sometimes people point out something helpful, useful, funny, or even beautiful. Once you start listening for this phrase, you'll hear it everywhere. And by the end of today's conversation, I think it'll feel like an old friend instead of a new expression.
That really is one of those phrases that quietly appears everywhere, isn't it? Before we continue, we'd love to hear from you. Think about a time when someone pointed something out that you completely missed. Was it funny? Was it a little embarrassing? Or was it really helpful? Share your story in the comments because we always enjoy reading your experiences.
And don't worry, we've all had those moments. You're definitely not alone.
I think that's comforting because sometimes we feel a little silly when we miss something obvious.
We do, but our brains are busy. We can't pay attention to everything all the time.
That's true. Imagine you're having lunch with a friend. You're talking, laughing, and enjoying your meal. Then your friend smiles and quietly says, "You have a little sauce on your shirt."
That's someone pointing something out in a very kind way.
You might look down and say, "Oh no, I didn't notice."
Or even better, "Thanks for pointing that out."
Both responses sound very natural.
They do, and they also show appreciation because the other person was trying to help.
Here's another everyday situation. You're walking quickly because you're running late, and your shoelace comes untied.
Then someone says, "Hey, your shoelace is untied."
That's another perfect moment to say, "Thanks for pointing that out."
Otherwise, you might trip a few seconds later.
Which would make for a very bad morning.
And probably a funny story later.
I have another example. You're waiting at a bus stop. A bus arrives and you're ready to get on.
Then a stranger points out that it's the wrong bus.
That could save you a lot of time.
It really could. You might have been thinking about work, school, or dinner, and you simply made a small mistake.
It's interesting how one short sentence can completely change what happens next.
That's why I think point out is such a helpful expression. Most of the time, people use it because they want to help, not because they want to criticize.
I agree. The tone matters too. A warm smile can make a big difference.
I remember another small moment. I walked all the way to the train station one morning and suddenly felt like something was missing.
Let me guess, your phone?
Even worse, I had forgotten it at home, but I didn't realize it until my neighbor pointed it out while I was locking the gate.
That was lucky.
Very lucky. I turned around, picked it up, and still caught my train.
It's funny how we can forget things we use every single day.
It happens because our minds are thinking about the next task instead of the present moment.
Maybe that's why we miss things that seem so obvious later.
I think so. We all need another pair of eyes sometimes.
And when someone points something out kindly, we shouldn't feel embarrassed.
We can simply smile and say, "Thanks for pointing that out."
Or, "I didn't notice."
Those two little responses are polite, friendly, and something you'll hear in everyday English again and again. They turn a small mistake into a pleasant conversation instead of an awkward moment.
You know, we've spent a lot of time talking about mistakes, but I think it's important to point out something else.
I see what you did there.
I couldn't resist, but it's true. Native speakers don't use point out only when something is wrong. Very often, they use it to share something beautiful or interesting.
That's one of my favorite ways to hear the phrase.
Imagine you're walking through a park with a friend. You're busy talking, and suddenly your friend says, "Look over there."
You turn your head and see a family of ducks swimming across a small lake.
Or maybe the sky is full of orange and pink colors as the sun is setting.
Your friend smiles and says, "I just wanted to point that out."
That's such a lovely moment because they aren't fixing a problem, they're inviting you to enjoy something together.
It feels more like sharing than correcting.
I think we all need people like that in our lives.
The kind of people who help us slow down.
Yes, sometimes we're so busy thinking about tomorrow that we forget to enjoy today.
That's when someone says, "Did you notice how beautiful the sky is?"
And suddenly you stop walking for a second.
You look up.
You smile.
And you're glad they pointed it out.
Flowers are another good example. I can walk down the same street many times without seeing anything special.
Then someone says, "Look over there. Those flowers just started blooming."
I look and I wonder how I missed them.
It's funny how something can be right in front of us, but we don't really see it until another person draws our attention to it.
That's one reason I enjoy walking with observant people.
Me too. I have a friend who notices the smallest details wherever we go.
Really? What kind of details?
We visited an old town together last year. I was looking at the shops and wondering where we should eat. My friend wasn't looking at the stores at all. He said, "Let me point something out."
That already sounds interesting.
He showed me tiny carvings above one of the old doors. I had walked right past them without even looking up.
I love moments like that.
Then we turned another corner and he said, "Did you notice those colorful windows?"
Let me guess. You hadn't noticed them.
Not at all. Once he pointed them out, I couldn't believe I had missed them. They made the whole street look different.
It's almost like discovering a secret.
That's a great way to describe it. Sometimes the best part of traveling isn't visiting famous places, it's discovering hidden details that many people walk past every day.
That reminds me of museums. I usually look at the biggest paintings first.
And someone else points out a tiny picture in the corner that has an amazing story behind it.
Suddenly, that small painting becomes my favorite one.
I think that's why I enjoy exploring new places with curious people. They notice things I never would.
They help you discover something new without even trying very hard.
And that's another beautiful use of point out. It isn't about mistakes at all. Sometimes it's simply about helping someone notice a wonderful view, an interesting detail, or a hidden little surprise that turns an ordinary day into a memorable one.
I really like that idea because it reminds us that pointing something out can make someone's day better.
But there is another situation that people sometimes worry about.
Let me guess. They're afraid of sounding rude.
Yes, some English learners think that if they point out a mistake, the other person might feel upset.
That's a common worry, but native speakers often do it in a kind and polite way.
The words matter, but I think the tone matters even more.
I agree. You can say the same sentence with a warm smile or with an angry voice, and it feels completely different.
Let's imagine you're working with a friend on a project. They finish writing an email and ask, "Can you check this for me?"
That's already a good time to help.
You don't say, "This is wrong."
No, you could say, "Can I point out one small thing?"
That sounds much softer.
Then you might say, "I think this sentence could be a little clearer."
Now you're giving advice instead of making the other person feel bad.
And most people appreciate that.
Here's another example from school. A student is reading English out loud.
The teacher listens carefully. Instead of saying, "You're saying it wrong," the teacher smiles and says, "I'd like to point out one word."
Then the teacher explains the pronunciation slowly and lets the student try again.
That feels encouraging.
It helps the student improve without losing confidence.
I still remember one of my English teachers. She never made anyone feel embarrassed.
What did she do?
She pointed out our mistakes gently. She always began with something positive before she explained what needed to change.
I love that approach because students feel safe enough to keep speaking.
Families do this too. Imagine a child finishes homework.
A parent looks at it and says, "Everything looks great. Let me point out one answer you may want to check."
That's much kinder than saying, "You made another mistake."
It also shows respect.
Even when we're giving directions, this phrase is useful.
That's true. A friend might ask, "Is this the way to the train station?"
You could simply point out that they're walking in the opposite direction.
Notice that sentence. Point out that is very common.
Good observation. We can say, "She pointed out that the museum closes early."
Or, "He pointed out that we needed more time."
We can also use it with a noun.
Like, "She pointed out the mistake."
Or, "He pointed out the sign."
Native speakers move between those patterns very naturally.
Here's something else I've noticed. Sometimes people begin with a friendly phrase.
Such as, "Can I suggest something?"
Or, "May I point out one little detail?"
Those small expressions make people feel more comfortable.
Because your goal isn't to win an argument.
Your goal is to help.
That's an important difference.
It really is. When people know you're trying to help them improve, they're usually thankful instead of defensive.
So, if you're pointing something out, remember to be calm, be respectful, and choose kind words.
And if someone points something out to you, try not to take it personally. Listen, smile, and think, "This person is helping me become a little better." That simple attitude can turn advice into something valuable and make every conversation feel warmer and more friendly.
I think that's a wonderful attitude, and it connects to something I've been thinking about while we've been talking today. The people who learn the fastest aren't always the smartest people in the room. Very often, they're the people who notice more.
I couldn't agree more.
Learning English isn't only about memorizing new words, it's also about paying attention. The more you observe, the more you begin to understand how real conversations work.
That's something I learned over time.
For example, when you're watching a movie or listening to a podcast, don't only listen to the words, listen to how people say them.
Listen to the rhythm.
Listen to the pauses.
Listen to the emotion.
Sometimes one simple expression can sound friendly, excited, surprised, or serious, depending on the speaker's voice.
And that's something books can't always teach you.
Another thing I like to observe is body language.
That's a great habit.
A person may smile before they speak. They might nod while listening or raise their eyebrows because they're surprised.
Those little actions help us understand the conversation even before we understand every word.
That's why I tell learners not to worry if they miss a sentence now and then. Keep watching and keep observing. Your brain will slowly connect everything together.
That's how my own English became better.
Really? What helped you the most?
Listening. Lots of listening. In the beginning, I thought I had to learn hundreds of grammar rules before I could speak well.
I think many learners feel that way.
Then one teacher gave me very simple advice. She said, listen carefully to what native speakers repeat.
That's good advice.
She often pointed out useful expressions during class. Instead of giving us a long list of vocabulary, she would stop and say, people say this every day. Remember it.
Those are the expressions that stay in your memory.
They do because you hear them in real conversations instead of reading them only once.
Podcasts can help with that too.
Definitely. Sometimes I'll hear a phrase several times in different episodes. After a while, I don't have to translate it anymore. I simply understand it.
That's a sign of real progress.
Friends can help too. I remember speaking with an English-speaking friend, and after our conversation, he gently pointed out that I kept using one sentence in an unnatural way.
Were you embarrassed?
Not at all. I was thankful because he explained it kindly, and I never forgot the better expression.
That's another example of learning through conversation instead of through fear.
And anyone can build that habit.
Let's give our listeners a few simple challenges.
I like that idea.
Tomorrow, during one English conversation, try to notice one new expression.
The next day, observe how someone says thank you.
On another day, pay attention to how people greet each other.
Then ask yourself, what did I discover today?
You don't need to learn 20 new words every day.
Sometimes one useful expression is enough.
One careful observation can improve your English more than hours of worrying.
Keep listening, keep practicing, and keep your eyes and ears open. The more you observe real English, the more natural it begins to feel. Before long, you'll notice expressions, understand conversations more easily, and even catch yourself pointing out useful phrases to other learners. That's when you realize you've made real progress. I love where today's conversation has taken us. We started with funny little mistakes, but somehow we ended up talking about paying more attention to the world around us. It's amazing that one small phrase can be useful in so many different situations. That's one reason I hear it almost every day. Me too. Someone might point out that you've forgotten your phone, or they might point out a beautiful sunset while you're busy checking messages. The phrase stays the same, but the moment changes. Sometimes it saves you from making a mistake. Sometimes it helps you discover something wonderful. And sometimes it simply makes you stop and smile. I think that's what I like most. Point out isn't only about fixing problems, it's also about sharing experiences. That's a lovely way to describe it. When someone says, "Look over there," they're inviting you into their world for a moment. They're saying, "I noticed something and I'd like you to notice it too." It could be a colorful building, a tiny flower growing through the sidewalk, or a child laughing in the park. Those little moments often become our favorite memories. And they remind us to slow down. I think modern life makes that difficult sometimes. It really does. We're always thinking about the next thing we need to do. Which is why we sometimes miss what's happening right in front of us. Today's phrase encourages us to pay attention, not only in English, but in everyday life. Before we finish, I'd love to hear one more story from you. This one happened a few months ago. I met an old friend for coffee. We talked for nearly an hour about work, family, and travel. When we stood up to leave, he smiled and said, "Can I point something out?" That sounds serious. That's what I thought too. I wondered if I had said something wrong. What happened? He laughed and said, "You seem much happier than the last time we met." Oh, I wasn't expecting that. Neither was I. I hadn't noticed the change myself. Life had been busy, and I never stopped to think about it. Sometimes other people notice things about us before we do. They really do. His words stayed with me all day. It wasn't a correction, it wasn't advice. It was simply an observation, and I appreciated it more than he probably realized. I think that's a beautiful way to end today's conversation because it shows another meaning behind this phrase. Pointing something out can encourage someone. It can help them see something positive that they've completely missed. That's why I hope our listeners won't be afraid to use this expression. Try it with your family. Try it with your friends. Try it during English practice. The more naturally you use expressions like this, the more comfortable your conversations will become. Remember,
every time you notice a helpful detail, an interesting expression, or a small mistake, you have a chance to use one simple phrase that native speakers say all the time.
Keep paying attention. Keep making careful observations. Keep listening for useful expressions. Every conversation is another chance to improve, and every kind person who points something out is giving you an opportunity to learn something new.
Before we say goodbye, here's one final question for you. What's something someone pointed out to you recently that you were happy to notice? We'd love to read your answers, and maybe your story will help someone else notice the little moments that make life and learning English so enjoyable.
Thanks for spending this time with us today. We hope this conversation helped you notice how one small phrase can carry so much meaning. Stay curious, appreciate the helpful people around you, and never stop paying attention to the little details. They don't just make your English sound more natural, they make every conversation a little richer. Until next time, take care and keep speaking English every day.